Hello students. So I think we have discussed all the concepts related to chemical bonding and molecular structure. So now we will go ahead with solving multiple choice questions from the same chapter, that is fifth chapter. What is that fifth chapter? Chemical bonding and molecular structure. So students, what are the different concepts that you have to be thorough with while solving the multiple choice questions of this chapter? So yeah, we will be you have to be thorough with ionic bond, factors affecting ionic bond, covalent bond, factors affecting covalent bond, coordinate bond, hydrogen bond, dipole moment, very important. You can expect so many questions on dipole moment. And then valency shell electron pair repulsion theory, correct? VACPR theory. There regular geometry, irregular geometry. And then valency bond theory. There you will talk about hybridization, and then molecular orbital theory. And above all, what is most important is octet rule and the limitations of octet rule, formal charge, how to calculate formal charge, and how to write the Lewis dot structure. So if you know all these concepts, then solving the multiple choice questions of this chapter will be very easy. So shall we start with the first question? Yes. So students, the first question is like that. The geometry of IF7. Yes, the geometry of IF7. So chalk this ilalla. The geometry of IF7, it is actually it has to be written like this: IF7. What is the geometry of IF7? So if you want to know the geometry, you should be knowing about hybridization, isn't it? If you want to write the geometry, if you want to write the geometry of the species, you should be knowing about what? Hybridization. What are the different types of hybridization we have? Come on. Yes, what are the different types of hybridization that we usually talk about? So we have got sp3 hybridization, isn't it? We have sp3 hybridization, or let us start with the sp hybridization, sp2 hybridization, sp3 hybridization, sp dehybridization, sp2d hybridization, sp2d2 hybridization, sp3 sp3d3 hybridization. So like this, we have got so many types of hybridization: sp hybridization, sp2 hybridization, sp3, sp2d, sp2d2, sp3d3 hybridization, sp3d3 hybridization. Now what is the shape of sp hybridization? Come on. Yeah, it is linear, isn't it? The shape of sp hybridization is what? Linear. Exactly correct. So what about the bond angle in sp hybridization? It is 180 degree. So hybridization sp means linear and the bond angle is 180 degree. sp2 hybridization, the geometry is going to be trigonal planar, and here the bond angle is 120 degree. Is that correct? The bond angle is how much? 120 degree. sp3 hybridization, yes, what is the bond angle here? Yes, what is the geometry? It is tetrahedral geometry, and bond angle is 109 degree 28 minutes. 109 degree 28 minutes. Is that correct? What about sp2d hybridization? Yes, sp2d hybridization, quick. Or sp3d hybridization, yeah, it is, come on. sp3d hybridization means trigonal planar, or it is planar bipyramidal, bipyramidal, planar bipyramidal or trigonal bipyramidal, anything is fine. Planar bipyramidal or trigonal bipyramidal. trigonal bipyramidal. Okay, and here in case of trigonal bipyramidal, okay, 3 bond angles is going to be 120 degree and 1 bond angle is going to be how much? Okay, 1 bond angle is going to be 90 degree. Okay, 3 bond angles is going to be 120 degree and 2 bond angles is going to be 90 degree. 90 degree. Are we clear? Yes. Okay. Yes. So sp3d hybridization, trigonal bipyramidal. sp2d2 hybridization. Any idea? Okay. Yes. sp2d hybridization. It is square. Okay. Pyramidal. Square pyramidal. Isn't it? Okay. Yes, sp2d hybridization is nothing but what? Okay, square pyramidal, or sp2d3 hybridization. If I talk about sp2d3 hybridization, okay, then it is going to be what? Octahedral. It's going to be octahedral. Here the bond angle will be 90 degree. In octahedral geometry, the bond angle is going to be 90 degree, whereas sp3d3, okay, sp3d3, it is pentagonal bipyramidal. Pentagonal bipyramidal. Here the bond angle is going to be out of, okay, yes, 7 bonds. Look here. Yes, 2 bond angles is going to be, okay, 90 degree and the remaining 5 bond angles is going to be 72 degree. sp hybridization linear, sp2 hybridization trigonal planar, sp3 hybridization tetrahedral, sp3d hybridization trigonal bipyramidal, sp2d3 hybridization octahedral, okay, and it's going to be 90 degree, and sp3d3 hybridization pentagonal bipyramidal. Now coming on to this question, IF7, okay, what is the hybridization of IF7? Okay, if you don't know, okay, the examples for different hybridization, we can just calculate the hybridization of this given species. How to calculate the hybridization? See this, okay, see all this, okay, all this are for regular geometry. What do you mean by regular geometry? What do you mean by regular geometry? If the central atom, okay, see if the central atom is surrounded only by bond pair of electrons, then it is called as regular geometry. What is it called as? It is called as regular geometry. Are you able to understand my point? Okay, if the central atom is surrounded only by bond pair of electrons, then it is called as regular geometry. Okay, if the central atom, look here, okay, yes, can I rub this? Yes. Okay, see if the central atom, okay, central atom is surrounded both by bond pair, okay, both by bond pair and lone pair of electrons, then it is called as irregular geometry. It will be called as irregular geometry. Well, okay, IF7, okay, is what type of geometry? Is it a regular geometry or is it a irregular geometry? If it is a regular geometry, then the hybridization will be as usual as I had written before. Okay, if it is a irregular geometry, then it is slightly different. Are you getting my point? Okay, so look at IF7. Okay, so if you consider IF7, is it a regular geometry or an irregular geometry? What type of geometry is it? Okay, for IF7, see iodine belongs to halogen family. Halogens are 17th group. For 17th group elements, the number of, okay, your valence electrons is going to be 7, isn't it? Okay, so iodine belongs to halogen family. Halogens means 17th group. For 17th group elements, the number of valence electrons is 7. Okay, so iodine has 7 valence electrons. It has shared all its 7 valence electrons with 7 fluorine atoms. That means there are no lone pair of electrons on iodine. Okay, so if there are no lone pair of electrons, iodine is surrounded only by bond pair. If the iodine is surrounded only by bond pair, then it is what type of geometry? It is regular geometry, correct? Iodine belongs to halogen family, okay, and okay, halogen means 17th group. For 17th group elements, okay, the number of valence electrons is going to be 7. There are 7 valence electrons, okay, among there are 7 valence electrons in halogens. Okay, so iodine has 7 valence electrons. It has shared all the 7 valence electrons with fluorine. It has shared all the 7 valence electrons with fluorine. Therefore, there is no lone pair of electrons on iodine. So if there are no lone pair of electrons on iodine, it has only bond pairs. So if there are only bond pairs, what type of geometry is it? Regular geometry. For regular geometry, we know for sp hybridization, linear, sp2 tetrahedral, sp3 sp2 trigonal planar, sp3 tetrahedral, sp3d, come on, sp3d, okay, trigonal pyramidal, trigonal bipyramidal, okay, sp3d2 or sp3d3, okay, it's what? Pentagonal bipyramidal. Okay, so sp3d3 hybridization, if you consider sp3d3 hybridization, okay, how many, okay, hybrid orbitals will be there in sp3 sp3d3 hybridization? 7 hybrid orbitals. 7 hybrid orbitals. Look at here, iodine is forming 7 bonds with fluorine, isn't it? Iodine is forming 7 bonds with fluorine. Then how many hybrid orbitals are there in iodine? 7. If there are 7 hybrid orbitals in iodine, what type of hybridization? sp3d3 hybridization. If it is sp3d3 hybridization, okay, what is the geometry? Of course, the geometry is going to be pentagonal bipyramidal. Are we clear? Okay, the geometry is going to be what? Pentagonal bipyramidal. The answer for the students, it is pentagonal bipyramidal. Okay, yes. Shall we go with the next question? Yes. Okay, the next question is like this: what is a type of hybridization that leads to, okay, 3-dimensional geometry of bonds around the carbon atom? Okay, what the type of hybridization? Again, the question is on hybridization. Okay, the type of hybridization that leads to 3-dimensional geometry of bonds around the carbon atom. 3-dimensional geometry of, okay, bonds around the carbon atom. See, he is talking about the hybridization of carbon atom. Hybridization of carbon atom. See, carbon can undergo only 3 types of hybridization. Carbon can undergo only 3 types of hybridization. Which are those 3 types of hybridization? sp, sp2 and sp3. Carbon can undergo only 3 types of hybridization: sp, sp2, sp3 hybridization. Therefore, this cannot be the answer. So I can overrule the option D. I can overrule the option D, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. See, if carbon is sp hybridized, then what is the geometry? The geometry is linear. Okay, linear, correct? Yes. And what is if carbon is sp2 hybridized, what is the geometry? The geometry is going to be trigonal planar. Trigonal planar, is that correct? Trigonal planar. What if the geometry is sp3? Sorry, if the hybridization is sp3, if carbon undergoes sp3 hybridization, okay, it will, the shape or the geometry of this molecule is going to be tetrahedral. Tetrahedral. See, carbon can only have regular geometry. Please note this point. Okay, carbon can only have regular geometry. In the last question, I differentiated between regular geometry and irregular geometry, isn't it? What is a regular geometry? Okay, if the central atom is surrounded only by bond pair of electrons, it is regular geometry. If the central atom is surrounded by both bond pairs as well as lone pair, then it is irregular geometry. So carbon cannot have what? Lone pair of electrons. It can have only regular geometry, except only in one case. It is what? Okay, yeah, it is in carbon monoxide. Only in carbon monoxide carbon gets lone pair of electrons. That means the geometry is going to be irregular. But in most of the cases, in 99% of cases, carbon geometry of the carbon will be irregular geometry only. So it can have three types of hybridization: sp, sp2 and sp3 hybridization. See, okay, sp is linear, as I said. For example, in carbon dioxide, what is the geometry? What is the hybridization of carbon? It is, okay, sp hybridization. Therefore the molecule is linear. Okay, carbon is sp hybridized in carbon dioxide, therefore the molecule is linear. What do you mean by linear? That means, see, this carbon, this oxygen and this oxygen, will all lie in one plane. They all lie in one plane. Okay, that means it is one dimensional geometry. It is one dimensional geometry. Are you getting my point? Okay, now if carbon is sp2 hybridized, okay, look at here, what is the geometry? Trigonal planar geometry. Okay, so here the word itself is telling planar means all the atoms, a central atom and the terminal atoms will all lie in one plane. That means this is also one dimensional, this is also one dimensional, correct? One dimensional. But if you talk about tetrahedral geometry, for example methane, see this methane, okay, in methane, yes, okay, we will actually write the three-dimensional structure of methane like this, isn't it? Do you know that? Okay, yes, we will actually write it like this. Okay, hope you know this very well. Okay, Wedgett formula. Okay, why do we write, what is the meaning of this methane? Okay, so what is this solid line represents? Solid line represents that, okay, this hydrogen is towards it, and the wedged line represents that the hydrogen is now away from us, away from the observer, correct? Okay, see here, carbon atom is sp3 hybridized. That means the geometry of this molecule is tetrahedral. Okay, so here this carbon, this hydrogen and this hydrogen, they all lie in one plane, whereas this hydrogen is in different plane and this hydrogen is in different plane. This hydrogen is in different plane and this hydrogen is in different plane. Okay, that means the whole molecule is a three-dimensional, okay, is in three dimension. Okay, this carbon and this carbon lie in one plane. Okay, so this carbon, hydrogen and hydrogen will lie in one plane. This hydrogen is in different plane and this hydrogen is in different plane. So it is in three dimensions, three different planes. So three dimension. So three-dimensional geometry is given by which structure? Tetrahedral structure. Tetrahedral structure means what type of hybridization? sp3 hybridization. Now just look at the question that has been asked here. The question says, what is the type of hybridization that leads to three-dimensional geometry? Okay, this is one-dimensional geometry. Okay, this is also one-dimensional geometry, whereas this is what? Three-dimensional geometry. Yeah, correct. So the type of hybridization that leads to three-dimensional geometry of bonds around the carbon atom is definitely, it is going to be sp3 hybridization. Okay, hope you understood my point. Yes, so shall I go with the next question? Correct. Okay, yes students, next question. Okay, the next question is like this: which among the following is true for an ionic compound? Okay, which among the following is true for an ionic compound? That means he's talking about ionic bond. Okay, ionic compounds means nothing but what? Ionic bond. Okay, yes. So what is an ionic bond? Yeah, how did we define ionic bond? Hope you have watched my previous videos. What is an ionic bond? Ionic bond means, okay, it is an electrostatic force of attraction, okay, that exists between two oppositely charged ions, okay, formed due to the complete transfer of electrons from one atom to the other atom, isn't it? It's an electrostatic, ionic bond is an electrostatic force of attraction that exists between two oppositely charged ions, okay, formed by the complete transfer of electrons from one atom to the other atom, is called as ionic bond, and the compounds which involve ionic bond is going to be an ionic compound. By the way, students, what are the factors that favors ionic compound? Okay, what are the factors that favors the formation of ionic bond? I have told you, so please watch my previous videos. Okay, what are the different factors that favors the formation of ionic bond? One is low ionization enthalpy. The other one is high electron affinity or electron gain enthalpy, high lattice energy, okay, higher the size of cation and smaller the size of anion. These are the four factors which favors the formation of ionic bond. Please understand what are the different factors. Low ionization enthalpy, okay, yes, high electron affinity, then okay, high lattice energy, and the last point is large size of cation and small size of anion will favor the formation of ionic bond. Okay, so with this basic idea, please read out the question that is given. Which among the following is true for an ionic compound? The compound question say option says the ionic bonds are directional. No, okay, ionic bonds are always non-directional. Okay, ionic bonds are what? Non-directional. They're always non-directional. Please note this point. Okay, only covalent bonds are directional. Covalent bonds are directional. Understood? Covalent bonds are directional, whereas ionic bonds are non-directional. Okay, the next question. Well, yes, one more. Okay, now we know ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvents, okay, with high dielectric constant, isn't it? But the next option says they are insoluble in solvents with high dielectric constant value. No, okay, if the dielectric constant value is high, the solvent is going to be polar. Therefore, ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvents. Ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvent, but here the second option says they are insoluble in solvents with high dielectric constant. Okay, solvents with high dielectric constant value, they are nothing but polar solvents. They are nothing but what? Polar solvents. Okay, basically, okay, ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvents. They are soluble in polar solvents. So option A is wrong, option B is also wrong. Next question, next option says for an ionic compound to be soluble in water, the main condition is enthalpy of hydration should be more than the enthalpy, lattice enthalpy. Yes, of course, correct. Okay, for any compound to be soluble in water, okay, the condition for solubility in water, condition for solubility in water for any ionic compound, for what? For ionic compound, yes, for ionic compound, yeah, okay, enthalpy of hydration, okay, enthalpy of hydration should be more than lattice enthalpy. Only when, okay, hydration enthalpy is more than lattice enthalpy, then the ionic compound will be soluble in water. If it is reverse, that means if lattice enthalpy is more than the hydration enthalpy, then the ionic compound will not be soluble in water. Okay, for a compound to be soluble in water, okay, yes, hydration enthalpy should be more than lattice enthalpy. Then option C is correct. Option C is correct. Now, last option, ionic compounds have low melting point and boiling points. No, it is absolutely wrong. Okay, ionic bond is the strongest bond, isn't it? Ionic bond, okay, is a strong bond. Ionic bond is a strong bond, okay, and we know melting point or boiling point, okay, is directly proportional to the strength of the bond. Okay, melting point or boiling point is directly proportional to what? The strength of the bond. Stronger the bond, stronger the bond, higher is the melting point and boiling point. We know ionic bond is the strongest bond. That means melting point and boiling point is highest for ionic compound. So option C, D is also wrong. Okay, hence according to the question, which among the following is true for an ionic compound? Yes, of course it is option C. Okay, is that simple? Okay, next question. Okay, yes, the next question says, okay, the molecule that has linear polymeric form due to hydrogen bonding. Okay, the molecule that has linear polymeric form due to hydrogen bonding. Okay, so well, hydrogen bonding exists between what and what? Yes, hydrogen bonding exists between what and what? Yeah, hydrogen bonding exists between hydrogen and an highly electronegative atoms like oxygen or nitrogen or what? Fluorine. Yeah, okay, hydrogen bonding exists between hydrogen and highly electronegative atoms like oxygen, nitrogen and fluorine. Okay, yes, so we don't have hydrogen bonding in hydrogen iodide at all. Therefore, okay, I can overrule the option C, correct? Okay, so I need not consider option C because hydrogen iodide, no, there is no hydrogen bonding in hydrogen iodide. But the question says, okay, the molecule that has linear polymeric form. See, there is hydrogen bonding in water molecule, there is, okay, hydrogen bonding in ammonia, there is hydrogen bonding in hydrogen fluoride also. Okay, look at here how water molecules are associated by hydrogen bonding. Okay, how is hydrogen bonding in water molecules? Observe. How is hydrogen bonding in water molecules? It is something like this. Look here. Okay, yes, there is hydrogen bonding between water molecules like this, H2O. Yes, yes, like this. Is this a polymeric chain? No, it is not at all a polymeric chain. Okay, there exists hydrogen bonding in ammonia also. How is hydrogen bonding in ammonia? Look at here, it is something like this, N. Okay, yes, NH3, correct? NH3, yes, N, okay, H3, okay, NH3. So there is hydrogen bonding here. Is there any polymeric in linear polymeric form? No, it's not a linear chain. Okay, if you consider hydrogen fluoride, see this hydrogen fluoride, there exists hydrogen bonding between hydrogen fluoride molecules. Okay, so fluorine to hydrogen, and fluorine to hydrogen. So don't you think this is a linear form? Okay, linear means what? Straight chain. Linear means straight chain, no branches. Okay, so it's a straight chain molecule. Okay, you know why the molecule is a straight chain? Because of the formation of what? Hydrogen bond between fluorine and hydrogen. Okay, well, this is branched. You can just clearly observe it is all branched. It's not a straight chain molecule. Okay, the only linear polymeric form is what? It is hydrogen fluoride. Why hydrogen fluoride exists in linear polymeric form? It is because of the formation of hydrogen bonding. What type of hydrogen bonding is it? Okay, it is nothing but intermolecular hydrogen bonding. What type of hydrogen bonding is it? It's intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Are we clear? So what's the correct answer? The molecule that has linear polymeric form due to hydrogen bonding is, yes, of course, it is option D. So you need not consider hydrogen iodide for this question because there will be no hydrogen bonding in hydrogen iodide molecules. That's it. Okay, simple. Yes, I'll go with the next question. Okay, next question, students. The number of pi bonds in butadiene, we'll come back to this question because okay, this is basically organic chemistry chapter, organic question. Okay, this we can answer this question in okay hydrocarbons, or we can answer this question in the first chapter of organic chemistry, that is basic principles and techniques in organic chemistry, but it involves the concepts of chemical bonding. Okay, until and unless you don't know the concepts of chemical bonding, you cannot answer this question. So this we come across this type of question in basic principles and techniques, but in order to apply the concepts of chemical bonding, I have taken this question in this chapter, but we will solve this question later. Okay, we will solve this question later. Understood? Okay, next question. A bond in dipole is constituted when? Okay, a bond in dipole is constituted when? Okay, what do you mean by dipole? Dipole. Okay, yes. What do you mean by dipole? What do you mean by dipole? Dipole means two poles. Okay, two poles. Which are those two poles? One is positive pole, the other one is negative pole. Positive pole and negative pole. Positive pole, negative pole. Okay, so dipole means two poles. Okay, positive pole and negative pole. When do you say that a bond is dipole? Okay, when will you say that a bond is dipole? Okay, a bond is dipole. Okay, a bond, please observe this, a bond is dipole only when there is okay electronegativity difference. Only when there is what? Electronegativity difference. Only when there is electronegativity difference between the combining atoms. Okay, so a bond is said to be dipole. Okay, any bond. A bond means what? Two electrons, isn't it? Okay, so a bond is said to be dipole. Okay, dipole means positive pole, negative pole. Okay, correct. So a bond is said to be dipole only when there is electronegativity difference between the combining atoms. Say for example, if I consider hydrogen molecule. Okay, so there is a covalent bond between the two hydrogen atoms, isn't it? There is a covalent bond between the two hydrogen atoms. Am I correct? Okay, now is this bond dipole? Okay, is this bond dipole? No, this bond is not dipole at all. Why the bond is not dipole? Because both the hydrogen atoms are equally electronegative. Since both the hydrogen atoms are equally electronegative, there is no electronegativity difference at all. There is no electronegativity difference between the two hydrogen atoms. Okay, they both are equally electronegative. Okay, the electronegativity of this hydrogen is same as the electronegativity of this hydrogen. So okay, the bond is not dipole. But if you consider hydrogen fluoride molecule, we know fluorine is more electronegative than hydrogen, correct? Fluorine is more electronegative than hydrogen. Since fluorine is more electronegative than hydrogen, what does fluorine do? Fluorine will attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself. Fluorine will attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself, as a result of which electron density on fluorine will be more and electron density on hydrogen will be less. Electron density on fluorine will be more and electron density on hydrogen will be less. Therefore, fluorine will get partial negative charge and hydrogen will develop partial positive charge. Okay, since fluorine is more electronegative than hydrogen, fluorine will withdraw the pi electrons towards itself. Okay, as a result, electron density on fluorine increases and hence it develops partial negative charge, whereas hydrogen will develop partial positive charge. Now look at here, there is a dipole. Positive pole, negative pole. Fluorine is negative pole, hydrogen is positive pole. There is dipole. Hence this bond is called as a dipole bond. Dipole bond. Or else we call this molecule as a polar molecule. We call this molecule as what? Polar. Polar means poles. Poles means two poles. Positive pole, dipole. Positive pole, negative pole. Positive pole, negative pole is nothing but a dipole. Dipole. Is that simple? Okay. Now coming back onto this question. Okay, yes, the question says two bonds forming the bond are identical. Two bonds, it's not two bonds, it's two atoms. Two atoms forming the bonds are identical. Okay, if the two bonds are identical, what is the question? The bond in dipole is constituted. When is the bond dipole constituted in a bond? If there is electronegativity difference between the combining atoms or between the bonded atoms, if the two atoms, okay, if the two atoms are identical, is there any dipole in this molecule? No. Okay, so a bond in dipole is constituted when the two atoms forming the bond are identical? No, can never be. If the two atoms are identical, then the bond can never be dipole. Okay, if two atoms forming the bond belong to the same group, okay, if the two atoms forming the bond belong to the same group, then there will be no big electronegativity difference. Okay, there will be no big electronegativity difference. The elements belonging to the same group will, first of all, they don't form bond. Okay, the elements belonging to the same group, first of all, they don't form bond. Even if they form bond, okay, that bond will not be dipole. Understand this point. Electrons forming bond will have the same spin. Okay, electrons forming the bond will have the same spin. If the electrons forming the bond have the same spin, then the bond is not at all formed. Okay, if the electrons forming the bond have the same spin, then the bond itself is not formed. If a bond has to be formed, then the electrons should be of opposite spin. Only when the electrons of opposite spin come together, they form a bond. If the electrons of same spin come together, no, they don't form a bond. Only if the electrons of opposite spin come together, they form a bond. If the electrons of same spin come together, no, they don't form a bond. Okay, next, atoms forming the bond have different electronegativity. Yes, so just because fluorine, electronegativity of fluorine is different from that of hydrogen, okay, the shared pair of electrons are towards fluorine, hence fluorine is getting partial negative charge, hydrogen is getting partial positive charge. Okay, so an atom in dipole is constituted when the atoms forming the bond have different electronegativity, So what is the correct answer? The correct answer is option D. Option D. Simple. Okay, clear. Next. Yes. Next question. A bond order, the bond order in superoxide. The bond order in superoxide. Students, look at here. See, this is O2, oxygen. See, O2 minus is oxide. O2 minus is oxide. Okay. O2, yes, 2 minus is, okay, superoxide. Okay, sorry, O2 2 minus is peroxide. O2 2 minus is peroxide. Okay, and O2 minus is superoxide. O2 minus is what? Superoxide. Superoxide. Are you getting my point? Okay, O2 is normal oxygen. O2 minus is oxide. O2 2 minus is peroxide. O2 minus is superoxide. Now is asking you to calculate the bond order in superoxide. So if you have to calculate the bond order, okay, what is the formula for bond order? Bond order. Please remember the formula for bond order. It is half of, okay, number of bonding electrons minus number of anti-bonding electrons. Half of NB minus Na. Okay, bond order is calculated by the formula, yes, half of NB minus Na. Okay, and we can calculate this bond order only if you know how to write the molecular orbital diagrams of, okay, oxygen, O2 minus, O2 2 minus, okay, and O2 minus, that is for oxide, peroxide and superoxide. We will write only for superoxide. Okay, we have to use molecular orbital theory. We have to use molecular orbital theory in order to calculate the bond order. In order to calculate what? Bond order. And what is the formula for bond order? It is half of NB minus NA. Okay, so shall we calculate the bond order using molecular orbital theory? Yes. Okay, so if you want to calculate the bond order, as I said, you have to write the electronic configuration. Yes, you have to write the electronic configuration, okay, for according to molecular orbital theory. So what is the electronic configuration? Electronic configuration, okay, configuration for the elements, with, okay, with more than 14 electrons, with more than 14 electrons. Okay, so what is the electronic configuration for the elements with more than 14 electrons? Okay, see, because now we have to calculate it for superoxide, right? Okay, what is the formula for superoxide? O2 minus. Okay, how many number of electrons? There are 2 oxygen atoms. How many number of electrons altogether? Okay, one oxygen has 8 electrons, other oxygen also has 8 electrons, 8 plus 8 16, and then there is one negative charge, so altogether 17 electrons. Is it correct? 17 electrons. Okay, superoxide has how many electrons? 17 electrons. So we have to use the electronic configuration, okay, for the elements with more than 14 electrons. Okay, with more than 14 electrons. So what is that electronic configuration? Yeah, the electronic configuration is sigma 1s, sigma star 1s, okay, sigma 2s, sigma star 2s, yes, okay, sigma star 2s, sigma 1s, okay, sigma star 1s, sigma 2s, sigma star 2s, and then, okay, yes, come on, sigma 2pz, okay, and then pi 2px is equal to pi 2py, okay, then pi star 2px is equal to what? Okay, pi star 2py, and lastly sigma star 2pz, sigma star 2pz. Are we clear? So this is the electronic configuration that you have to use if there are more than 14 electrons, more than 14 electrons. So oxide, superoxide, O2 minus has 17 electrons. How? Okay, one oxygen has 8 electrons, the other oxygen has 8 electrons, 8 plus 8 is 16, and there is one negative charge, 16 plus 1, 17 electrons. So now let us fill the 17 electrons in this electronic configuration. So it is 2, 4, okay, 6, 8, 10, okay, yes, 11, 12, 13, 14, yes, yeah, 15, 16 and 17. Okay, yes, this is how you have to fill. According to, you have to follow, okay, Hofbauer's principle, Pauli's exclusion principle, and also Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. Okay, correct. Yes. So now count. Use the formula. Bond order is equal to half of number of bonding electrons minus number of anti-bonding electrons. The orbitals which is written as star, they are called as anti-bonding orbitals, and the electrons that are there in anti-bonding orbitals are called as anti-bonding electrons. Okay, is that simple? Okay, now, so how many number of bonding electrons? Yeah, it is half of, yes, half of number of bonding electrons, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, okay, 10 minus, okay, number of anti-bonding electrons, yeah, 2, 4, okay, and 6. So 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 by 2 is 2. Okay, yes. So what is the bond order in superoxide? Yeah, the bond order in superoxide is going to be 2. Okay, just a minute. Yes, so what is the bond order in superoxide? Okay, yeah, okay, the bond order in superoxide is, yeah, it is bond order in superoxide. Okay, just a minute. Okay, yes, what is the bond order? What did we get? Okay, it's going to be how much? Yeah, it is 2. Bond order in superoxide will be equal to 2. Correct. So the exact answer is option A. Are we clear with this? Okay, can you remember this electronic configuration? Very nice. Okay, this is the electronic configuration for the elements with more than 14 electrons. What is it? Sigma 1s, sigma star, sigma 1s, sigma star 1s, sigma 2s, sigma star 2s, sigma 2pz, pi 2px equal to pi 2py, pi star 2px, pi star 2py, and lastly sigma star 2pz. So okay, fill the electrons according to Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity and also Hofbauer's principle. Okay, so the bond order in superoxide is 2. That's great. Okay, yes, next question. Okay, well, I'll go with the next question. Okay, yes, I'll go with the next question. Yeah, okay, what is it? Oxygen molecule. Oh, again I have to use the same. Oxygen molecule is diamagnetic with no unpaired electrons. Oxygen molecule is paramagnetic with 1 unpaired electron. Diamagnetic with 2 unpaired electrons. Paramagnetic with 2 unpaired electron. Again, if I want to know whether the given species is diamagnetic or okay paramagnetic, again I should make use of molecular orbital theory. Molecular orbital theory in order to say whether the given species is diamagnetic, okay, diamagnetic or paramagnetic. Okay, diamagnetic or paramagnetic. In order to just to know whether the given species is diamagnetic or paramagnetic, okay, I should again use what? Molecular orbital theory, and I have to write the electronic configuration. See, if there are unpaired electrons in the configuration, if there are unpaired electrons in the given electronic configuration, okay, then the molecule is going to be paramagnetic. If there are no unpaired electrons, if you don't find any unpaired electrons when you write the electronic configuration, then the species is going to be what? Diamagnetic. Okay, if you find unpaired electrons, okay, while writing the electronic configuration, it is paramagnetic. If you don't find any unpaired electrons while writing the electronic configuration, then it is called as diamagnetic. Then the species is going to be diamagnetic. Okay, so now let us calculate. Okay, yes, oxygen molecule, isn't it? So oxygen molecule means O2. Total how many electrons? 8 plus 8, 16. 16 electrons. That means I have to make use of the same electronic configuration that I wrote it before. What is it? Okay, sigma 1s, sigma star 1s, sigma 2s, sigma star 2s, okay, yeah, sigma 2pz, okay, yes, then pi 2px is equal to what? Pi 2py, okay, then yes, pi star 2px, pi star 2px is equal to what? Pi star 2py, and lastly sigma star 2pz, okay. Correct. Is this the electronic configuration that we used before for the electrons or for the species with more than 14 electrons? Yes. So there are 16 electrons. Now we have to fill the 16 electrons in this electronic configuration. Come on, let us fill. Okay. So sigma 1s2, sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2. Okay. Sigma 2pz. How many? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. 11, 12. 13, 14, okay, 15, 16, 15 and 16 over. Yes. Did we fill all the orbitals, okay, with 16 electrons? Yes. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16. Okay. Now observe, students. Observe, there is one unpaired electron here. There is one unpaired electron. All these are paired electrons, isn't it? All of these are paired electrons. Now we have two unpaired electrons. Two unpaired electrons. Therefore, oxygen molecule is what? Okay, if there are unpaired electrons, the molecule is paramagnetic, isn't it? So there are two unpaired electrons, hence oxygen molecule is paramagnetic. So what is the answer then? Yes, oxygen molecule is paramagnetic with two unpaired electrons. With two unpaired electrons. So what is the correct answer for this? Yes, it is option D. Oxygen molecule is paramagnetic with two unpaired electrons. Two unpaired electrons. Okay, exactly correct. That's exactly correct. Okay, yes. Okay, yes. Let us move on to the next question. Let us go with the next question. Okay, what is the next question? Which one of the following molecules or ions is non-linear? Okay, non-linear. Okay, which one of the following molecules or ions is non-linear? Okay, again, okay, linear means what? Linear means what type of hybridization? sp hybridization. What type of hybridization is it? sp hybridization. Of course, we know beryllium chloride is sp hybridization, isn't it? Beryllium chloride is a linear molecule. It's a linear molecule because beryllium chloride, it is sp hybridized. Okay, and what about the hybridization? Actually, please, okay, it is a printing error. It should be like this: ICl2 minus carbon disulfide, and this is ICl2 plus. ICl2 plus. Okay, yeah, of course, beryllium chloride is linear molecule because it is sp hybridization. Students, if you, what about the hybridization of the other species? See, if you don't know the hybridizations of the other species, please calculate the hybridization. We have a formula to calculate the hybridization. What is that formula? Okay, yeah, hybridization. Okay, yes, it is given by the formula. Yes, to calculate hybridization, okay, we can use this formula: half of, okay, V plus M minus C plus A. Please use this formula: half of V plus M minus C plus A, minus C plus A. What is V? Okay, yes, V means number of valence electrons. Number of valence electrons around the central atom. Okay, the number of valence electrons around the central atom. V means what? The number of valence electrons around the central atom. M means the number of monovalent atoms, okay, surrounding the central atom, surrounding the central atom, okay, number of monovalent atoms surrounding this. Monovalent. Usually monovalent species are hydrogen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. These are monovalent. Oxygen is divalent. Okay, sulfur is divalent, nitrogen is trivalent, okay, carbon is tetravalent. So number of monovalent atoms, M means number of monovalent atoms surrounding the central atom. C is, okay, the total, okay, total positive charge. C is what? Total positive charge, okay, positive charge, okay, and A is total negative charge. A is what? Total negative charge. Total negative charge. So you can calculate, okay, hybridization using this formula. V means number of valence electrons around the central atom. M means the number of monovalent atoms surrounding the central atom. Okay, yes, C is the total positive charge, A is the total negative charge. See, if you when you calculate this hybridization, if you get the value as 2, okay, if you get the value as 2, then it means it is sp hybridization. Therefore the geometry is going to be linear. Okay, the geometry is going to be linear. If you take when you calculate by using this formula, and if you get the answer as 3, then it is sp2 hybridization, and the shape is going to be trigonal planar. Are you able to understand? Okay, and if you get the answer as 4, okay, 4, okay, if you get the answer as 4, then it means it is sp3 hybridization, and the molecule is said to be tetrahedral. Are you getting my point? If you get the answer as 2, linear. If you get the answer as 3, okay, sp2 trigonal planar, 4 sp3 tetrahedral, 5, okay, what is it? Okay, come on, 5 means what? Okay, sp3 is d2, then it is what? Okay, trigonal bipyramidal, okay, yes, sp3d hybridization, it is trigonal bipyramidal, okay. Then if you get 6 as the answer, it is sp3 d2 hybridization. Okay, sp3 d2 hybridization means octahedral geometry, and if you get 7 as the answer, sp3 d3 hybridization means pentagonal bipyramidal. Are you getting it? Pentagonal bipyramidal. Are you able to understand? So use this formula to calculate the hybridization, half of V plus M minus C plus A. Okay, half of V plus M minus C plus A. If you get the answer as 2, it is sp hybridization, and the molecule is going to be linear. If it is 3, sp2 hybridization, trigonal planar. Okay, 4, sp3 hybridization, tetrahedral. 5, sp3d hybridization, trigonal bipyramidal. 6, sp3d2 hybridization, octahedral. 7, sp3d3 hybridization, pentagonal bipyramidal. Just use this formula. Okay, yes. Now let us calculate. The question is, which one of the following molecules or ions is non-linear? Okay, so that means let us calculate the hybridization so as to get to know which one is non-linear. I'll go with the first option, option A, beryllium chloride. Okay, if I go with beryllium chloride, BeCl2. We know beryllium chloride, okay, beryllium belongs to second group, the number of valence electrons. So if I use the formula half of, the number of valence electrons in beryllium is going to be 2, plus there are 2 monovalent atoms, chlorine is monovalent. What is the total positive charge? 0. Total negative charge is 0. Okay, 2 plus 2 is 4. Half of 4 is 2. So you're getting the answer as 2. If you get answer as 2, it is sp hybridization, and the molecule is going to be linear. Okay, the molecule is going to be linear. Okay, so A is linear. Understood? Now if I take next, okay, if I consider the next option, ICl2 minus, let us calculate the hybridization for this. Half of, okay, yes, iodine is the central atom. Iodine belongs to halogen family. For halogen family, the number of valence electrons is 7, plus there are 2 monovalent atoms, so plus 2. Okay, now total positive charge is 0, total negative charge is plus 1, isn't it? Okay, yes, 7 plus 2 is 9, okay, 7 plus 2 is 9 plus 1, half of, okay, V plus M minus C plus A. Okay, or else you can consider this, V plus M minus of C plus A. Okay, anything is fine. The total positive charge is 0 and the total negative charge is 1. Okay, so what is the answer you are getting? 7 plus 3, 10. Half of 10 is 2.5. 2.5. Next, if I consider the next molecule, option C, carbon disulfide. Okay, calculate that hybridization for this. Half of carbon, 14th group. So the number of valence electrons is going to be 4. 14th group 4. Okay, plus now sulfur is not a monovalent atom, 0. Okay, total positive charge 0. Total negative charge is 0. Half of 4 is nothing but 2. Yes, we are getting 2. 2 means again what type of hybridization? sp hybridization. That means carbon disulfide is also linear. Okay, now last option, what is it? ICl2 plus. ICl2 plus, is that correct? Okay, so now half of iodine is the central atom. Okay, iodine, halogens. For halogens family, the total number of valence electrons is 7. There are, okay, two monovalent atoms minus, okay, there is one positive charge. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. Okay, half of 8 is 4. 4 means what type of hybridization? sp3 hybridization. Okay, sp3 hybridization means what structure is it? Tetrahedral structure. Tetrahedral structure means it is a non-linear molecule. Tetrahedral structure means it is a non-linear molecule. Hence, which is the non-linear molecule? It is ICl2 plus. The non-linear molecule is ICl2 plus. Any doubts? ICl2 plus. Are we clear? Hence the correct answer is option D. This is, okay, sp hybridized. Therefore all the three are linear, whereas this is non-linear. Okay, students, I'll continue with solving the problems in the next video also. Thank you.